The film starts as Robert McCall gets up and starts preparing for work. Robert lives in Boston and he is currently working at a Home Mart hardware store. Robert is well liked at his workplace and has a friend, Ralphie, who wants to become a security guard. One time during lunch, Robert warns him against eating junk food as he will not pass the security guard test if he is overweight. Due to some sleeping issues, he often spends his nights at a local diner reading books. One night, he's reading a book called The Old Man and the Sea when a young girl starts a conversation with him. She asks whether the old man has caught any fish, and Robert tells her not yet. The girl gets up after finishing her pie and leaves the diner to hail a cab. The next day at work, Robert is revealed to be a social, cheerful, and funny man after he makes some dance moves for his workmates. Robert sees the same girl sitting alone in a corner that evening at the diner. Suddenly, a black limousine pulls up outside the diner. The girl gets a call from a man called Slavy who tells her that the limo is for her. Slavy is a pimp who organizes women for wealthy clients. The limo door opens to reveal an obese man waiting for her. The girl gets up, checks her dress, and fixes her makeup before exiting the diner and joining the man while Robert watches silently. The next day, Robert finds the girl sleeping in the diner. He gives her a donut and notices a bruise on her face. As he sits at his usual place, the girl joins him. She introduces herself as Alina, though she uses the name Teri when with clients. Alina gives Robert a CD of songs she had recorded herself singing, and Robert promises to check them out. Robert and Alina decide to take a walk to get to know each other more. A car pulls up, revealing Slavy and his driver Teri. Slavy gets out of the car and slaps Alina. Robert tries to intervene but backs out when he notes Teri has a gun. Slavy gives Robert a business card, telling him to call if he wants an arrangement with some girls before taking Alina away. Some days later, Robert asks about Alina as he hasn't seen her in a while. The diner manager tells Robert that Alina is in the ICU after Slavy had assaulted her. Robert goes to the hospital where he finds another girl, Mandy, visiting Alina. Mandy is dazed, crying and weary. Robert comes to her rescue, comforting her until she calms down. The two enter an elevator where Mandy reveals she is Alina's best friend. She tells Robert that Slavy abuses them all the time. In this case, Slavy hit Alina and Alina hit him back. Robert thinks of how he can help poor Alina and remembers the business card Slavy had given him. Robert goes to the address listed, which is a restaurant. Slavy and his men are conversing, probably counting the money that they make from their illegal acts. Robert gives Slavy $9,800 so he can buy Alina's freedom. The arrogant men laugh, and Slavy tells Robert that the money is enough for him to have Alina for a week. Robert takes back his money and starts walking out of the restaurant. He's close to exiting the restaurant when he changes his mind and locks the door. Slavy and his men think the man is crazy as he is greatly outnumbered. Robert sets his timer and observes the weapons the men have. Teri draws his gun and is about to shoot Robert, but Robert diverts the weapon, causing a bullet to slice Slavy's neck. Robert then impales Teri with a shard of glass and makes quick work of the other goons. After all the men are dead, Robert walks towards Slavy, who is dying a slow and excruciating death. Even that torturous death is not enough to pay for the horrendous ways he had treated the girls. Robert quickly leaves the scene. The news of the murder reaches Slavy's Russian boss, Vladimir Pushkin. He sends his enforcer, Teddy Renson, to find and kill the culprit. Teddy pairs with 3 rogue cops so he can find leads. Robert reports to work and realizes Ralphie is not in. When he asks the manager, he learns that Ralphie has quit. Robert visits his friend who is working at his mother's restaurant after it suspiciously caught fire. In the investigation process, one crooked cop called Frank Masters takes Teddy to a gangster named John Looney. However, John is not cooperative and starts insulting Teddy and all Russians. Angry at the insults, Teddy pounces on John while Frank kills John's men. Robert is enjoying a basketball game with his co-workers when Ralphie approaches them. He is wearing his security guard uniform, having passed the test, and his friends congratulate him. One night, 2 of the corrupt cops dine at Ralphie's mother's restaurant. The 2 cops fail to pay for their meals and extort the poor woman for money. She has to pay, and they warn her that another accident will occur if she is late again. The 2 men leave happily but are stopped by Robert. Robert says he wants to report a crime, but the men ignore Robert until he calls one of them by his name. The men give him attention and Robert shows them a video showing the 2 officers extorting a convenience store owner and confessing to the arson. The officers hold Robert at gunpoint, but the skilled fighter overpowers and beats them up in a few seconds. He tells the men to either return the money or have the video plastered on every news channel. A thug enters the Home Mart and threatens the cashier, Jenny. Jenny is terrified, so Robert walks over calmly and gives the man the money he needs. However, the greedy man also wants Jenny's ring. The ring is very precious as she had inherited it from her mother. She reluctantly hands it over while Robert studies the man. He doesn't make any moves since a man and her kids enter the mart. Instead, he follows the man outside and takes notes of his car's number plates. That evening, we see Robert borrow a sledgehammer from the store. The next day, Jenny finds her ring in the cashier register and Robert returns the hammer. Teddy visits Mandy, questioning her about who could have killed Slavy. Mandy tells him that she knows about the black man who had come to visit Alina in the hospital. After getting the information, Teddy kills her. Teddy tracks down and visits Robert at his apartment, posing as a police officer. Teddy easily recognizes and flashes him a picture of Mandy's body as a warning. Teddy re-strategizes with his team, but cannot find evidence that Robert is Slavy's killer. He decides to watch him, hoping he might give something away. Teddy sees Robert in the diner and sends a man to interact with him. Unfortunately for him, Robert can sense a crooked man from miles away. Robert asks the man whether they're expecting other people, and the man draws a gun. A truck passes in front of the car Teddy is watching from, obstructing his view. In the diner, Robert kills the gunman and then turns the lights off by inserting a knife into the light switch. As he exits the restaurant, he takes pictures of Teddy and his goons. The goons follow him to his house. When Teddy and his men enter the house, they find it empty, but Teddy is positive Robert is watching them. Robert is seen in another room watching the men via various cameras installed in his house. Robert visits his friend Susan Plummer, who works with the Defense Intelligence Agency. Susan is happy to see Robert as prior reports indicated that Robert had died in a car bombing many years ago. A funeral was even held for him. Susan doesn't work with the agency, but uses her resources to help Robert learn more about Teddy and his employer Vladimir. Susan tells Robert to be careful as the mobsters would go to all extents to ensure they kill him and all the people he cares for. Susan also reveals Teddy's real name is Nikolai Ichenko, and he is a former member of the Russian secret police and has Spetsnaz training. It's also revealed that Teddy had murdered 2 corrupt detectives the prior night, and the third one, Frank, is missing. Teddy locates and subdues Frank by locking him in his car and releasing carbon monoxide. From Frank, Robert obtains a memory stick loaded with information about Pushkin's illegal activities, which he emails to the FBI. Robert then confronts Teddy at a restaurant, revealing that he knows his history and pledges to bring down Pushkin's criminal enterprise. Later, Robert destroys oil tankers belonging to Pushkin. Teddy and his henchmen go to the Home Mart store and take several of Robert's co-workers hostage. After arriving at the store himself, Robert kills Teddy's henchmen one by one and eventually confronts Teddy and kills him with a nail gun. 3 days later, Robert travels to Moscow to end the criminal madness once and for all. He kills Pushkin's guards at his mansion and tricks him into electrocuting himself. After returning to the US, Robert is approached by Alina, learning that she has started a new life after being freed from Slavy's control. She thanks him for giving her a second chance. Robert is inspired to continue using his skills to help people in need and posts an online advertisement, now identifying himself as the Equalizer. Do leave a comment telling us your favorite part of the movie. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next recap. Until next time, folks, take care and goodbye.